What's going on, guys? Billy here, and in my previous video, my initial review of the new DJI OM4, I touched on the fact that I've been using DJI's mobile gimbals ever since they first came out. I picked up the first generation here in late 2016, and ever since then, I've always upgraded to their newest smartphone gimbal, and it's fit into my workflow in some fit or fashion over the years, typically shooting B-roll for the videos I post here on YouTube. But in that previous video, I shot a clip where I had all of them lined up on the table right here, and afterwards, while I was editing that video, I looked at each of these gimbals and couldn't help but see how it's evolved over the years. So what I want to do in today's video is show you guys and go over the progression of the DJI Osmo Mobile series over the years to see exactly where it came from and what it is now with the brand new OM4. So I'm not really sure if I can call this the Osmo Mobile 1 because at the time when it came out, it was just called the Osmo Mobile, but this original mobile gimbal from DJI was a huge game changer for me. Like I said, this gimbal came out in late 2018 and I used it to shoot a lot of the video here for my channel when I first got started, and to my knowledge, it was the first of its kind. I'm not really sure if there were any other similar offerings on the market at the time, but something I loved was that I could make better use of my iPhone's camera, the great camera I already had in my smartphone, and I didn't have to go out and buy a separate camera system. Being a first generation product, the original Osmo Mobile doesn't have all the fancy shooting modes that we're used to having. It did have a very basic panorama and time-lapse shooting mode, and it had a very early version of Active Track built into the software, which was DJI Go. The old DJI Go application was used as the companion app for this original Osmo Mobile. It wasn't until the Osmo Mobile 3 that we got a dedicated MIMO app for the Osmo line of cameras that DJI came out with, and I think that that's where a lot of the problems stemmed for this gimbal. I found so many bugs through my time using this, as well as the Osmo Mobile 2, because that gimbal also runs on DJI Go. We'll get into that in just a couple of seconds here, but I couldn't shoot in 4K. I remember not being able to take advantage of the secondary telephoto camera on my iPhone 7 Plus, and because of these bugs and feature limitations, I ended up ditching the DJI Go app entirely in favor of the built-in camera app or the stock camera app on my iPhone, and I also used Filmic Pro, and even to this day, I don't find myself using the MIMO app all that often, but instead I'll use the Filmic Pro app because it just seems so much more powerful. What really is the most interesting part about the gimbal though is the design. There were some features here in this gimbal that we just don't see now in the newer versions, like a removable battery and a 3.5mm headphone jack. There was also a lot of weird quirks that could be found in this device, like the tripod mount being on the side, so you actually needed an accessory just to attach the gimbal to a tripod. Also, the original Osmo Mobile's battery charged through that 3.5mm headphone jack. There was no micro USB port on here to charge the battery. You know, now that I think about it, it's such a weird concept to use the 3.5mm audio jack to charge a device, and quite frankly, I didn't even know that that was possible, but this led to a couple of pitfalls here with the Osmo Mobile, specifically regarding power to the device. You needed that exact cable to charge this device, or at least any cable that was USB-A to the 3.5mm audio jack, which, let's be honest, how many of those did you have lying around your house? Using something like micro USB would have just been so much easier and so much more efficient. And also, another problem that stems from using that one port is you can't use headphones and you can't use a microphone while charging the device. So it brings up a couple of issues. Also, you had this weird stand that you had to pay an extra $10 for with the original Osmo Mobile, whereas on the newer versions, you've got this full-on tripod that, first of all, is a lot more steady than this stand, but also it just looks a whole lot better, and the actual tripod mount is positioned in a good area. So look, the original Osmo Mobile has its problems, it has its quirks, and it also had a lot of things you had to work around, but it set the framework for what the Osmo Mobile series would become, and they really have improved it ever since then. Fast forward a little over a year to CES 2018, and DJI finally updated their mobile gimbal lineup with the Osmo Mobile 2. While keeping the same core design, this gimbal replaced the original Osmo Mobile and introduced a lot of great improvements. While it still used the old clunky DJI Go app, the second generation Osmo Mobile gave you the ability to orient your phone vertically now to shoot portrait photos and videos. It swapped the changeable batteries for a built-in battery with up to 15 hours of use time, which was a whole lot more than what you got out of the original Osmo Mobile. This battery could also be charged through a micro USB port now instead of a 3.5mm jack. A new zoom slider on the left of the device was added. A full-sized USB-A port was also added to the back, giving you the ability to charge your phone while shooting. And because the battery didn't come out, a tripod mount was now properly placed underneath. Now, while the Osmo Mobile 2 introduced a lot of great new features as it improved functionality, by far the biggest difference between the first and second generation Osmo Mobile was the price. The original Osmo Mobile retailed for $299, while the second generation retailed for $129. That is a huge difference. It's over a 50% price cut, but it really helped DJI put this in front of the consumers it was trying to target, right? If you just bought a brand new smartphone, chances are you didn't want to go and drop an extra $300 on an accessory to stabilize your smartphone, but the $129 cost of the Osmo Mobile 2 was definitely easier to stomach. Now, this did come at a cost. This gimbal was made of much cheaper materials. It was just noticeable as soon as you picked it up. It lacked the rubberized grip. It has this very cheap plastic feel, and not that this has to do with the price cut or anything. A very controversial move here by DJI. They removed the trigger on the back in favor of the USB-A port. This was detrimental to me. When I bought the Osmo Mobile 2, I actually would use the Osmo Mobile 1 over this gimbal because of the removal of the trigger on the back, but don't worry, DJI soon rectified this in their Osmo Mobile 3. Using that as our transition, the third generation Osmo Mobile was released in early 2019, and with this device, it really felt like the first time I wasn't going totally out of my way to use the gimbal along with my phone. The reason I say this is because it introduced this new foldable design that made it a lot easier to travel with and overall a lot more efficient to use. Rather than play with the different brackets to balance my phone, I could simply place the phone in the clamp, turn it on, and start shooting. Switching between portrait and landscape shooting modes was also made a whole lot easier as it could be done through the double press of the mode button. There was no more need to turn the gimbal off and totally rebalance it. Along with the revolutionary new foldable design, there was also some slight tweaks to the handle, like the rearranging of the buttons, the inclusion of a USB-C port in exchange of the micro USB port, and the USB-A port was flipped around to the side for the reintroduction of the much needed trigger button. I still can't believe that DJI thought it was a good idea to remove this button. Like, it seriously is the best way to interact with this device on the fly. The Osmo Mobile 3 was also the first mobile gimbal that DJI made that ditched their Go application in favor of the Mimo application, which was long overdue. Remember, the Go app was designed for drones in mind, and the Osmo series was kind of added as an afterthought, but the Mimo application was specifically designed for their mobile gimbals, their Osmo line of cameras from the Pocket to the Action, and now with the Osmo Mobile 3. It introduced a lot of great new settings and a lot of great new shooting modes, just to name a couple off the top of my head: Hyperlapse, Active Track 3.0, and just regardless, a lot of really great quality of life improvements. Now, they did up the price a little bit here with the Osmo Mobile 3. It now costs $150 instead of $129 on the DJI Osmo Mobile 2. And really quickly, we are going to get into the Osmo Mobile 4 here, the OM4, but I should say right now, the Osmo Mobile 3, being a great gimbal, is on sale for $89, I believe. So if you want a great mobile gimbal, right now is a great time to buy the Osmo Mobile 3. So with that, our trip down memory lane has finally concluded. We looked at the first, second, and third generation of the Osmo Mobile series, but now it is time to switch this gimbal out for the brand new OM4. Now, yes, they did change the naming scheme here. They shortened it down, while the design of the gimbal stays relatively the same as what we saw on the Osmo Mobile 3. I showed this off in my initial review video, but basically everything is identical from the handle, the available ports, and the button layout. The biggest difference here is the mounting point, which now utilizes magnets to hold your phone in place. On those older Osmo Mobile gimbals, the clamp mount always felt a little bit clumsy, and even here on the brand new Mavic Air 2, DJI sort of introduced the same clamp mount, except it's a little bit different here on the remote controller. So you kind of slide your phone in along the top. And while I do like this orientation better than the older Mavic remotes because the phone is up above your fingers rather than below and kind of in between your thumbs, I do think that this is just a little bit clumsy. And I don't mean to seem like those infomercials that are making these mundane tasks seem harder than they actually are, but at the end of the day, this magnetic mount is just so much easier. I showed it off in that review video, but basically you just put it into place, snap the magnet on, turn on the gimbal, and then you're ready to go. You just got to kind of wait for it to center itself. We can double tap, and now we're ready to start shooting, right? Now, if you want to take it down and you kind of want to, I guess, pack up, you can turn the gimbal off. You're able to grab your phone. It puts it in a nice spot for you. Put the gimbal down, the arm down, and you're ready to pack yourself up. Now, the way that I've been using the Osmo Mobile over the past couple of weeks that I've had it is basically folding it up like this and then tucking it into the side of my backpack. So when I want to shoot, I sling my backpack around, I pull it out, I open up the foldable arm, put the phone on here, and then I'm shooting. Now, out of the two different style of mounts that DJI includes in the box, the first one being this sort of traditional clamp here that will attach on via a magnet, and also this little puck that they include that you can stick to the back of your phone. This one is definitely the fastest. It also is the less intrusive, but I'm not somebody that likes to permanently or semi-permanently stick something on the back of my phone. This drives me crazy. Now, I'd probably keep it on here if I knew I was going on vacation and I was traveling and I was going to use the Osmo Mobile a lot, but I think that I would typically go with the clamp style mount just because it's a little bit easier and I don't have to deal with this thing living on the back of my phone all of the time. You know, I thought to myself, DJI could really make a lot of extra money if they decided to build like a wallet, I guess, accessory that you can snap on the back of here, or maybe even if they sold like a car mount so you could snap it on inside of your car. I do have to say that this magnet is very strong, so if you go and put your phone on here, it's on there really well, so you don't have to worry about this falling off if you're going to be filming with it or doing something a little bit more high intense with it. This is going to stay. It's a really nice, strong magnet. Now from there, the Osmo Mobile, the OM4, does offer a couple of other upgrades over the OM3. The Osmo Mobile 3. I've got these names totally mixed up. One of which is the improved motor. So it can handle a larger payload or a larger mobile device, which is good because a lot of these phones coming out are heavier and larger. There are a couple of other shooting modes that are introduced with the brand new OM4, like Dynazoom, something that's kind of cool but feels a little bit gimmicky to me. But regardless, when you put both of these gimbals side by side, the Osmo Mobile 3 and the OM4, they're basically identically the same. And I don't think that that's a bad thing because DJI has seemed to kind of get in this groove where once they figure out what works, they don't change it, right? Like the Mavic remote worked so well for so many years and they barely changed it. They left it untouched, which was good because it was very familiar. The same thing goes with the Osmo Mobile. I think they finally found a winning design here with the Osmo Mobile 3, and we're going to continue to see the same iteration with the OM4 and continuous down the line with some of the other Osmo Mobile gimbals, just with slight iterations and slight changes because they can make little, I guess, improvements here and there. So that was the full evolution of the Osmo Mobile gimbal from the Osmo Mobile 1 all the way up to the OM4. I'm really excited to see where it goes from here and to see how they can continue to make these gimbals better. And I love to hear what you guys have to say about all of these gimbals I touched on here in this video. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.